because I got a lot of information to share with you and a lot to talk about. So welcome everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. Today we're going to talk about starting your fall vegetable garden. Maybe you've never done vegetable garden. Maybe you've always done your summer vegetable garden, tomatoes and squash and zucchini. That's not what we're going to talk about today. I don't know if you know this, but the fall vegetable garden is one of the easiest gardens to grow. Very, very successful, very, very easy to do. Get a lot of harvest, a lot of crops, very, very simple. And there's a huge selection. I'm going to go through a lot of those, but it's really, really easy. One of my favorite stories, and so if you're watching from across the United States or from wherever you're watching from, some of this information might not pertain specifically to you. I'm really going to kind of keep this more to the Hampton Roads area, but you'll still get lots of other good tips and tricks. I know if you're further north, you can almost do some of these crops all the way year round. But if you're a little bit further south, you might not be able to do some of these. Or you might have to wait till a little bit later, November, December, before you plant some of these. So again, just depending on your zones, just do a little bit of research. For the Hampton Roads area, what's really cool, and the story that I heard that got me excited about fall vegetable gardening, is this is what the colonists, when they landed here in Williamsburg and in Jamestown, very, very local, this is what they survived on, was these vegetables that I'm going to talk about now, because they were easy. They're very successful. They have a high rate of return. And so it wasn't the tomatoes and the corn and the carrots and the squash and all, sorry, not carrots. I'm going to talk about carrots. But your summer crop, your peppers, tomatoes, squash, zucchini, all those things that we have in the ground maybe now, that is not what was super, super successful. And so what a lot of people realize is how the colonial times have taught us that these are some of the easiest ones to grow: turnips, beets, carrots, all the lettuces and spinaches, and I'm going to go through the whole list. So super, super exciting topic. So yeah, Allison just mentioned broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, all of those. I'm going to talk about all of them today, just to kind of get you excited and get you kind of motivated to get out there and plant some of these, because you'll be very, very successful. So let's first talk about, I think, kind of something that I just kind of want to get out of the way, which is cole crops. You probably have heard that term, and that's C-O-L-E, cole crops. Now, when I first started working here 17 years ago, I called them cold crops. Some people might call them cool crops. I don't know that it really matters what you call them. Cold crops comes from the term, or it comes from the cabbage family. So there's a lot of cold crops that are in the cabbage family, which is in the mustard family as well. It comes from the English translation of the German word for cabbage, which is cole. But let's not get tied up in that too much, because really cole crops is only a specific group of the cabbage genus. But let's not get tied up in that, because then we start to get into carrots and beets and turnips. So let's just call it all the fall vegetable garden. I just like to throw that out there, because sometimes you'll hear the term cole crops or cold crops or cool crops. But really what we're talking about is the fall vegetable garden. As the season winds down, as we get into the cooler temperatures, there's a whole world of crops that you can grow, and they're hugely beneficial, extremely healthy. So when we start talking about the health benefits here, it's amazing. The kales and the collards and the lettuces and beets and turnips. I mean, those are broccoli. I mean, those are super, super vitamin-rich vegetables that you can grow very, very easily in small spaces, in large spaces. You can start them early, you can start them later. So lots and lots of things to talk about here with that. But I just want to kind of get that out of the way, because I know a lot of people are always kind of confused by that term cole. Don't worry about it too much. It's not super important. What you want to know is, what are my best fall vegetables? What can I plant in the fall? So one of the cool things when I was talking about the vitamin richness and the benefit of all of these vegetables is having it fresh. So when they're cut and right to the table, or cut and frozen by you, then you get the benefit of having those vitamins still packed into that plant or into that vegetable. What we have discovered is plants that are cut, not to say that store-bought broccoli or Brussels sprouts or cauliflower or lettuces are bad. Of course, they're still healthy, but they do lose some of that vitamin richness. And so by bringing those right out of the garden, right into the table and eating them is an amazing way of keeping that vitamin supplement very, very high and keeping all those health benefits right there in the plant. And like I said, so easy. One of my favorite crops to grow. This was the first thing I ever grew, was the fall vegetable garden. And so that's what kind of got me hooked, was planting spinach and lettuce. It's so easy and so rewarding and so much fun. And again, like I always say, there's nothing better than the taste of your own homegrown vegetables. When you first bite into that first bowl of lettuce that you grew in your home, you'll never taste anything better, and you'll be hooked for life. Trust me, it's amazing. So what I want to do is I want to go through all of these different vegetables. That's what I'm going to do first, is just kind of go through the list. I'm going to try and keep it alphabetical. I've got a lot of seed packets here. Now, I'm not going to specifically talk about how to sow seeds. I've got a seminar on that on Friday. So come in this Friday. I'm going to talk about how you can actually plant all these seeds, or all seeds in general, really. Whether you're starting them in seed trays or direct sowing, we'll talk about that. What I am going to do is use these seed packets to kind of show you images, and so you can be able to see what the plants look like. I do have some plants here that I can show you, but we'll go through the whole list of all the different things that you can grow here in Hampton Roads through the fall, through the winter, some of them, into the spring. So just an amazing selection here that you can choose from. And so I'm going to use those seeds. We'll carry the plants. I'll talk about that at length. And then at the end, I'll talk about all the things you want to do, whether it's soil or fertilizing, how to feed all your plants, any kind of insect or disease issues you may come across, which is one of the things that I love about the fall vegetable garden, is there's not a lot of those. And then any other kind of tips and tricks and techniques that I'll talk about as well at the end. And I'll go through those as well as I go through each plant. So I'm going to talk now. I'm going to just start going through my list here. And again, all of these notes will be posted as soon as we can possibly get them up on our website. So if you want to jot down some notes, for sure, do that. But if you just want to enjoy and watch and listen, maybe you're doing something else and you're just kind of listening to me, these notes will be available. So I'm going to start with the A's, which is arugula. So I don't know if anybody's ever grown arugula, but arugula is awesome. So here we go. This is arugula. So you can kind of see, and here's kind of more of a picture. And actually, I've got an arugula plant here somewhere. So you can buy seeds, or you can buy 4-packs. These are little 4-packs of vegetables. This is arugula here. You can see the leaves. Really spicy. So that's what I love about arugula, is it's going to add a little bit of that peppery spice to your vegetable garden, or to your lettuce or your salad bowl. You can use arugula for a lot of different things. So it's a spicy green is basically what it is. And what's really cool about arugula is it's very fast. So it's a fast maturing plant. So let's see if I can find the mature date here on these. So these mature in 40 days. I'm gonna talk about maturity a little bit. And what does maturity mean? Maturity means when you're starting to get a really good repetitive harvest. But arugula is great. So you can grow these in full sun to part shade, and kind of let's get that out of the way too early. I'll talk about it a little bit at the end. But pretty much all of your fall crops can take a little bit of shade. They can take full sun. Of course, they'll love full sun. But if you give them a little bit of shade, that's okay too. So when we're talking about where you're growing these, you can grow them in a lot of different places in and around your yard to kind of get the full benefit of all of these. But arugula is a great one, very easy, quick to germinate. I like to plant these from seed. I usually direct sow them right into the ground, or you can do it by the 4-packs. And I usually do it in intervals too. So I'll usually plant them every 2 to 3 weeks. So if you do them every 2 to 3 weeks, you can kind of get a good steady crop throughout the season. And these will actually make them through the winter as well. So light frost if we have a mild winter. So typically we have a mild winter here in Virginia. And I'll use that term a lot. And mild winters mean if we don't have an extremely cold spell, then we should be able to grow a lot of these all the way through the winter time frame. But arugula is a great one, very easy to grow. Because I have the plant here, I'll show you. These are mature leaves here. So these are nice and mature, and we can already start picking on these. And what I love about the fall vegetable crop is that they just keep on producing. So you can actually go through and just cut this all off. If you cut it off about an inch or two above the ground, so right about where the crown is. So I don't know if you can see that, but so let's say I want to take this whole plant. I can take it right here. Well, let's see, this one you can see really well. So if I just cut it right there, it'll continue to shoot out new leaves. I can also just go around the edges and pick off those more mature leaves all the way around the edges. And then I just throw it into a salad. Super easy, super fresh, adds a little spice to the salad, to the winter salad. So awesome plants. Arugula is a great one. All right, so next is beets. So beets, I got a couple beet packages here so you can see the different types of beets. Beets are awesome. So this, that red beet What I think is really cool about beets that I didn't know about when I first started is you can eat the beet greens. Beet greens are super packed with vitamins, very healthy, and I love the taste of beet greens. Awesome. And you can use the beets, obviously, as they start to mature. So maturity date on these is about 55 days. So very quick maturity. I do have some plants here so you can see how pretty that is too. Look at that pretty leafy kind of lettuce looking plant. So you can obviously, like I said, you can pick these and eat these. They're super tasty. And then as the beet matures, you can use the beet. So a lot of people pickle them. Not that I don't necessarily know how to pickle them, but I've had pickled beets and they're awesome. But you can use beets in a lot of different types of recipes and lots of different types of ways in salads, coleslaws, lots of different things you can do there. Really good. So beets are one of my favorites, and there's lots of varieties of them too. So I've got the Early Wonder. That was bull's blood, I believe is what that one's called. Bull's blood. So a really deep red. This one's called Early Wonder. And then we've got Gourmet Blend. So you're going to get a couple different varieties in there, like the Golden Beet, which is just a different color. It doesn't have that really red kind of staining color to it. So it's a nice mild beet. But beets are awesome, super easy, very beneficial. The vitamins, I think they have pretty much like every vitamin that you need to stay healthy in a beet. So eat your beets at every meal and you'll be healthy. So really great, easy plant to grow are beets. And beets will make it all the way through the winter too. So if we have a mild winter, like I mentioned, they'll keep on going. So the next one is broccoli. So broccoli I want to talk to you about real quick. And tell you that anything that when I say head up, so it has to form a head, like a broccoli head, those are going to take time. So those are going to take time to form. And so when we start to talk about broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cauliflower, those are going to take a little bit longer. So you're going to hear me say the maturity days are a little bit higher. But broccoli is a very healthy, very great vegetable to grow in the fall vegetable garden. They will make it through mild winters as well and keep on producing. You can usually almost get 2 harvests out of broccoli too. So typically what you'll do is you'll go cut off those crowns and you'll go cut off those heads of broccoli, and then you'll get some side shoots out that'll produce broccoli as well. So really cool. There's lots of different varieties of broccoli as well. Calabrese is one of my favorites. Very easy to grow, very high producing. Does take about 2 months, 60 days to produce those broccoli crowns. So a lot of people will start broccoli a little bit early. Now we're going into September, which I think is the best time to start your fall vegetable garden. And as we get into September, that's a great time to start. Now broccoli, some people might start this a little bit earlier. You might start this in early August or July in seed trays. The difficulty there is they like cool weather, and so you got to deal with the heat. They also don't love their roots disturbed. So we want to make sure that we're putting these in the ground very carefully if we're starting them from plants, or if we're starting them from seed in a tray and then putting them in the ground. We want to be careful about not damaging the roots. But you can also direct sow these. So now if you planted them now in September, it's going to take 2 months. So you got sprouts in 5 to 10 days. So you got, let's say, 2 weeks there. So then we're into mid-September, and then all the way into mid-November is when we could possibly get our first harvest, which mid-November is when we might get our first frost. So they're going to start to slow down their growing pattern there. So it's a little bit of a tougher one to get there, but I still think you have a shot at it. And even if they don't head up before the winter season hits, then the plants are still viable. You can still eat broccoli greens. Greens are great. The stalk is still good, used in stir fries. And also you can wait until the spring, and then they'll head up in the spring. What you want to do is obviously cut broccoli before it begins to flower. So when those buds, all what you're eating there in a broccoli plant are all those little buds. And so what you want to do is get those before they start to open up and flower. So broccoli is an awesome one. I'm going to try and roll through all these. I know I'm only on B's, so I'm going to try and roll through all these and then talk about how to grow everything kind of in one lump sum. So Brussels sprouts are next. Brussels sprouts are another one. I've grown them before. They do take a long time. So maturity days in 90 days. That's a little bit of time. So you're 2 week for sprout. You can get them in plant form, which means you get a little bit of that step up, and you get a little bit of a jump start on it. But a lot of people find that this is a very long harvesting plant. You can get a very long harvest out of Brussels sprouts, but they do take some time to get those little Brussels sprouts on there. So sometimes you plant them in the fall and you're not harvesting until the spring. And sometimes we get a little itchy and it's like, I got to plant my tomatoes and my squash and zucchini. And so a lot of times Brussels sprouts get ripped out before they get formed. So I just always warn people, if you're going to try Brussels sprouts, just be warned that they do take a little bit of time. This is one of the longer of the fall vegetables, but if you get them, they're awesome. I mean, I don't know if you've ever grown Brussels sprouts, but I love Brussels sprouts. They're super easy to, or super fun to eat. I love them grilled or fried with a little bit of oil and salt. Super tasty. I just always warn people, whenever you're doing broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, things that need to head up, even heads of lettuce, they do take a little bit more time. But Brussels sprouts are another one. I'm going to keep on rolling here as quick as I can just to get through the list of all the plants. Cabbage. Cabbage is awesome. Cooked cabbage or even, cut up for fresh eating in salads. Cabbage is awesome. And these form huge heads. This is about the only cabbage that I really sell in seed form is the early flat Dutch cabbage. It forms a 4-pound head on it. So really nice. You can keep picking the leaves off as it's starting to grow, but then it'll form that nice big head on it. And cabbage is a very easy one to grow. Does take a little bit more time. 85 days to maturity. So 85 days, that's a little bit more time. So if you feel like you're being pressed, or maybe this is your first year ever doing fall vegetable garden, you'll hear me say how easy some of these other ones are. But cabbage is a great one. Arugula, easy. Cabbage takes a little bit more time. So cabbage is a good option. Carrots. So carrots are another one of my favorites. Fun for kids, fun for everybody in all ages. So carrots, lots of different types of varieties of carrots. Now you're not going to find these in our 4-pack of plants. You just won't find them because carrots don't transplant very well. So we always are going to direct sow our carrots. And I do like to do these every 2 to 3 weeks as well if I can. The difficulty, if there ever was one with carrots, is that they take a while to germinate. So it could be up to 3 weeks, so be patient. My best advice for carrots is be patient with your carrots because they do take a little bit of time to come up. But once they come up, they're pretty easy to grow. Now, I'll talk about this real quick. I'll talk about it again at the end. But anything, a root vegetable, carrots, turnips, beets that we already talked about, they like loose soil. They need to be able to go down in the soil. That is the vegetable part that you're mainly going to eat. Beet greens you're going to eat, carrot greens maybe not so much. But carrots need to be able to work through the soil, so you want to loosen your soil, so you want to add organic matter. Again, I'm going to talk about that at the end, but that's just something that I throw in there. Some people, we'll talk about radishes here in a minute, but some people will throw radish seed in with their carrot seed and mix them up because the radishes form very quickly. You can pull the radishes out and that gives some space to the carrots to grow. That's the other thing about carrots. They need a little bit of space. So typically your spacing is going to be 1 to 2 inches depending on the size of the carrot. So like a little finger carrot, they only need about 1 inch of space. But then let's say like a rainbow blend or the Danvers half long, those are going to need about 3 inches of space. So what I typically do is you can spread the seed. Again, we're going to talk about seed sowing on Friday. But usually when you spread the seed, be patient, takes a little bit of time to come up. And then when you go through to thin them, what we say by thinning them is you're going to go through and take out the ones so that you get some space. Maybe you planted them too close, and that's okay. But carrots are extremely yummy. I think we've all had carrots. They're great cooked. They're great raw, salads, dips, lots of different things you can do with carrots. Awesome fall vegetable. And matures pretty quickly. I didn't mention that. Only about 2 months. So, typically somewhere between 1.5 months to 2 months, 45 days to 60 days. Very, pretty quick crop, and actually can overwinter as well. So we can start to, do that 2 to 3 week planting ratio. So every 2 or 3 weeks, we're putting out more seed to get it to germinate, and then we've got more and more crops. And then I always say if you're buying seed, like I love these big value packs. These have 7,000 carrot seeds in them. So, hugely beneficial. $2.79 and you can grow 7,000 carrots. So really beneficial. Save some for the spring. I do that when I buy all my fall vegetable seeds and I go out there and plant. I save some for the spring and then I can plant them then. Again, I'll talk about more of that on Friday when we talk about seeds specifically. Carrots, awesome one. All right, celery. So celery is another one that you can grow. Well, again, a little bit longer on the maturity date. A lot of people have already probably started their celery seed, but it can make it through the winter. So a lot of times I'll say plant it now in the fall. You'll usually get your crop in the spring when we warm back up, maybe March or April. The biggest tip that I can give you on celery is give it a little bit of space. It does need about 12 inches of space because if you've ever bought, obviously we all know what celery looks like in the store. It's that nice kind of shape to it. It gets that shape right there in the ground that you can see right there on the package. But they do usually get a little bit broader. You can pick off a couple of the early stems younger and have those in salads. Or use them for cooking. I mean, you use these obviously, for Thanksgiving, for your turkey dinner and stuff like that. But celery is very, very beneficial, very healthy, great snack, great in salads, making, tuna fish salad, all those things. So we all know that we can use celery for lots of different things. What I think is probably the biggest tip for celery is that you want to blanch the stems. So what does blanching the stems mean? So as your celery gets closer to being ready to be cut off and be harvested, we want to blanch the stems because otherwise celery can have a bitter taste. So what you want to do is you can take a milk carton. I know probably not a lot of us probably have milk cartons anymore, or you could use a box, or you could use newspaper, something that allows the top to still come out because it's going to be kind of like a leafy top. It's going to almost kind of looks like parsley to me a little bit. So imagine having that, leafy top, and then basically what you want to do is cover off those stems. And you can use newspaper, which can get wet. The reason they say use a milk carton is because it's a wax-coated cardboard, so it's not going to break down if it gets wet. And that can sit on there. And you want to leave it on there for about 10 to 14 days to blanch those stems, and then you can cut it, and they don't have that bitter taste anymore. So that's the trick on celery, is it takes a little bit of time. It's about 120 days, so about 4 months. So 4 months before you really get that nice big crown of celery. But then blanch them for about 2 weeks. So when you get towards that end, they're looking nice and full. I'm getting close to harvesting. Give yourself another 10 to 14 days to blanch the stems on your celery to get that nice taste that you want out of your celery. And like I said, you can use newspaper, tie it off with some twine. You might have to replace it after a heavy rain. You can use a cardboard box. You just want to be able to put it around, allow the tops to come out to continue to grow and not block the bottom. So that's pretty much it, is you're just trying to cover off that stem portion of the plant. All right, cauliflower. I'm not going to go into too much detail with cauliflower. Obviously a great source of fiber, awesome plant. Grow it, you can eat them raw, you can steam them, stir fry, lots of different things you can use cauliflower for. It does take time to head up, so it's just like broccoli. It's going to take a little bit of time to get there. I think I have a cauliflower plant, so you can kind of see the leaves of that. So there you go, kind of just looks like a leafy green, but cauliflower is an awesome one. It's a maturity date of about 60 to 70 days, so cauliflower takes about 60 to 70 days. But that means that, that you can still do it. You still got time. So if you want to go ahead and start some cauliflower, go for it. Cauliflower is awesome. So we'll move on to Swiss chard, which is another leafy green. Love these. These are awesome, I think, as just as a visual, as an annual almost. So I like to mix these in with my pansies. So you can do some foodscaping, some landscaping with food, because the bright lights, Swiss chard. Let's see if you can see that, all that color in the stem, and then the forward hook, Swiss chard, which I actually find to be probably a little bit sweeter is the forward hook, so that white stem. But these are awesome, very easy to grow, just like all the leafy greens. Matures pretty quickly in about 45 to 60 days. You can use those stalks for lots of different things, for that really deep flavor. Just super easy to grow, and I think really pretty looking too. So brightens up a salad. You can use them in soups. You can use them for a lot of different things. A lot of people will cook them. So Swiss chard is another great option for the fall vegetable garden. I'll throw this one in there. I've never grown cress, but I love watercress. And this is very similar. This is peppercress. Why I grabbed this one is because it sprouts in about 2 to 5 days from seed, and it matures in 15 to 20 days. So within a month, you can have some cress. So there you go. I mean, awesome plant. You can do, these actually go through the winter pretty well. It's got that kind of tangy flavor. I don't know if you know the cress taste. but awesome in salads, sandwiches. A lot of people use them on sandwiches for that kind of tang, and garnishes for different dishes. But sprouts in 2 to 5 days, matures in 15 to 20 days. So you're getting your crop very quickly. And so whenever you have something that matures very quickly, do continue to stagger your plantings. So whenever I talk about staggering your plantings, doing every 2 to 3 week a new plantings, this you might do one every week. You might go out there and throw out some more seed in another section, especially if you love cress. So great option. Another fall vegetable, collards. I think we all know collards. Collards are a southern favorite. They're great cooked, amazing. I think my grandmother, made some of the best collards. Just let them soak in bacon fat for an entire day, and that's what they tasted like, was bacon fat. So probably didn't get any nutritional value out of it, but they were super yummy. But collards are awesome. These are 7 to 14 days to sprout. You can also get them. So there's your collard right there. Now collards will actually get pretty good size. So they get about 24 inches high and wide, maybe even up to 3 feet tall. The tip on collards is keeping the butterflies away. I'm going to talk about that at the end, so stick around because you got to know how to get rid of those butterflies. Not that we're going to kill the butterflies or the moths, they're cabbage moths. But I've got a great OMRI listed organic solution for you it's a must-have. When you pick up your fall vegetable garden seeds or your fall vegetable plants, you need to pick up some of this as well. So I'll tell you that at the end. I'll hold that till the end so you stick around. But collards are awesome. They're big plants, so they do take up a little bit of space. And I think collards taste best when they have their first frost. So actually going through a couple frosts. These are winter hardy plants in our area with a mild winter. They'll make it all the way through the winter, and you can keep on harvesting. You can keep taking leaves from the bottom. You can cut the whole plant and have a bigger harvest. But Georgia Southern is one of the favorite varieties of collards. These are very easy to grow. Just give them a little bit of space. Like I said, 2 to 3 feet tall. But an awesome fall vegetable, and just really amazing looking in the fall vegetable garden because it's one of the biggest plants you're probably going to grow. Other than Brussels sprouts, if you grow Brussels sprouts, they can get pretty tall too. Kale. So kale is another great one. So kale, I think a lot of us know from the health drinks and the health benefits of kale. So many different benefits of kale, and a lot of people love it. A lot of people use kale to decorate and garnish their dishes, especially when we're having big meals. Looks awesome. So kale is a really good one. Not super long. So I don't know that I mentioned. I think I always group collards and kale together. But collards are about 75 days to maturity. Great time to plant them now. September, by the time we get into the frost time frame in that November, you could have taken some early. They still taste good. A lot of people just say after the frost they taste better. Same with kale. Kale, you get a little bit of a crop a little bit quicker. They're about 60 days, so about 2 months you get a nice crop of kale. And throughout this entire time that I'm talking about going to maturity, you can always pick the leaves. So I've got some kale here. This is young kale. I want to let this plant grow, but as those leaves on the bottom start to fold over, I can go through and pick some of those baby kale leaves and throw them in a salad and let new leaves come out and become the mature plant that I'm going to take. You don't want to cut too much. We don't want to take too much off the plant. We want to allow all those leaves to be able to make that plant nice and big that you want to be healthy. But that is another good thing about your fall vegetable garden is you can keep on picking at it and you keep on taking stuff. But kale is another good one. Leeks. Leeks are really popular. Leeks have a great mild onion flavor to them. They do take a little bit more time to mature, so they don't take long to sprout. A lot of people grow them from seeds. I like to grow them a little bit closer sometimes, so you get a little bit thinner of a leek if you want. You get a little bit faster production, but you can also space them out. So, a lot of people space them about 6 inches, so you get that nice big, huge leek. Takes a little bit more time to get to maturity there, but leeks are awesome. That great mild onion. A lot of people use them in soups and stews, and they're really good and easy to grow, and they can grow all the way through our cooler, mild winter, so you can continue to grow these all winter long. So leeks are another great one. And the other cool thing about leeks and onions, I'm going to talk about onions here in a minute, is they have no insect issues. Nothing really likes them, except for us. All right, so then let me see. I'm just going to check my notes here and make sure that I didn't miss anything along there. So the one thing that I didn't mention is garlic. Garlic we will have pretty soon. I don't have it in yet, but garlic bulbs are awesome. We've got lots of different varieties of garlic that are coming in. You can plant them very easily. You can even get a small crop by the end of the fall. You can wait till the spring and get another crop, and in the summer. So garlic is an awesome choice. We'll have lots of those coming up here pretty soon. I'll be doing a bulb seminar all on bulbs, mainly flower bulbs, but I'll talk about onions and garlic as well. So bulbs are a great choice, and garlic is what we'll get some garlic bulbs too. We might get some garlic plants in here eventually, but I know I'll have garlic bulbs hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I hope be in pretty soon. So let me just make sure I didn't miss anything else, because I did miss that one. All right, so now we're on to lettuce. Lettuce is one of my favorite ones. I've got lots and lots of different choices of lettuce. I'm going to talk about lettuce here for a little while, just to tell you the varieties of lettuce. I mean, it takes a long time. There's so many choices. Lettuce is super easy. This is the one you got to grow, lettuce. Lots and lots of choices here. And I know a lot of us are probably sitting there saying, well, iceberg lettuce? Well, there's a lot of other different types of lettuces. I think a lot of us eat iceberg lettuce in salads and on sandwiches. It's easy. You just buy a head of lettuce. It's inexpensive, and that's good. But these are going to be some of your favorite plants to ever grow, are these lettuces. So I'm going to go through a couple different names here. Butter crunch lettuce, awesome, super tasty. It kind of forms a small head or a light head, but I just like to keep picking the leaves off around the edges. I've got Great Lakes iceberg lettuce. So if you're going to grow an iceberg lettuce, this would be the one that I would recommend. I never really get much of a head. I might get a small head, but I just keep picking the leaves, and the leaves are just so tasty. They're crunchy, they're crisp, and it's just an amazing taste. When you feel the leaf, you're almost like, this seems kind of rubbery almost, but it's so crisp, and it's so good in salads, on sandwiches. Awesome lettuce. So that's a really good choice. Let's see, we've got black seeded lettuce. So this is black seeded lettuce. Is a really buttery taste. Another very good one. All of your lettuces are going to mature in about 30 to 60 days, usually in that 45-day range. So somewhere between a month to a month and a half, maybe 2 months, but very easy to grow, and you just keep on picking. So this one, you're going to keep on picking all the leaves off. I'm going to show you. I got some lettuce plants here. I'm going to show you how to do that here in a second. But I just want to go through some of the varieties. Black seeded Simpson lettuce, one of our favorite varieties here. Let me just show you this because I love these value packs. 5,600 seeds for $2.79. I mean, you'll be eating all winter into the spring, all fall, just awesome plants. And all of these can take a light frost or a mild winter. Paris Island romaine lettuce. Romaine is awesome. I love to grow romaine. I mean, I think we know romaine from the store-bought lettuce, where you kind of get that almost kind of like a head of romaine lettuce. But you can keep on picking the leaves around the edge. That's what I love about these. You just keep picking the leaves off, keep letting it form up. Eventually, you might say, "Hey, I want to make a bunch of sandwiches, or I want to make a big salad," and you might go and cut the whole thing off. But romaine lettuce is an awesome one. Super easy to grow. Let's see. Next one is, there's another type of romaine lettuce. This is called Jericho. This one is a salad blend. These are really cool. So what these have is, so this one specifically, I'm going to read the back, has black seeded Simpson lettuce, green salad bowl lettuce, red salad bowl lettuce, Marvel for 4 Seasons lettuce, and Bibb lettuce. So this is like, what is that, 5 or 6 different types of lettuce in there. Awesome mixture. So you get all this color. You get some of the red leaves. You get some of that chartreuse green leaves. Super easy to grow. Mature anywhere from 45 to 60 days. Great mix. So if you've got a little bit of a smaller space, this is a great way to do a lot of different types of lettuces, is just do a blend. And I think I've got a couple other blends here. Well, here, this is the red lettuce, red sales lettuce. One of my favorite one. This one's called Salad Bowl Red. But red sales lettuce, super tasty. I mean, this is probably my #1 tasty lettuce. Plus, it's a different color in the salad. So I love to grow like that butter crunch lettuce or the Great Lakes lettuce, and then I'll mix in some of this red sales or salad bowl red lettuce. Very tasty, super easy to grow. And then you've got your spicy salad mix. So the spicy salad mix has a couple different varieties in it as well, but it's also got, I think it's got a little arugula in it. It's got some cress, got some mizuna, got some arugula. got some red lettuce and some Marvel Four Seasons lettuce. So again, lots and lots of different types of lettuce, but it adds out a little bit of spice with some arugula in it. So you're going to get a little of that peppery taste. So those are just some of the seeds that we carry and just some of the options of lettuce. Let me show you some lettuce plants. So this is a romaine lettuce. Look at how pretty that looks. I mean, just gorgeous. So again, you can buy the plants like this, 4-packs, if you've got smaller space. But what I want to show you with these plants, let me go to, this is a really pretty one. This one I think is the Simpson Elite. So remember I was talking about that black-seeded Simpson, that chartreuse green. Love these. You know, love this plant. And what you can do is just go in and you go down to the bottom of the plant. See that leaf right there? So we're going to go right down to the bottom of the plant. And then I just pinch it, or you can use a pair. I like to use a pair of scissors. It makes the cut nice and clean. You can use a sharp pair of pruners, but scissors are a great thing for the fall vegetable garden because it makes a nice clean cut, won't hurt the plant, won't damage the plant. But you can pinch it too with your fingers too. But that does kind of crush the stem. And so if we can use scissors, that'll make a nice clean cut. But there you go. I've got a leaf of lettuce. I'm just going to go around. So what I would do, let me show you this now because this will be kind of an easy way of showing this. So what you would do is, here's a plant. We can see this plant. Let's see. What plant can we see really well on the camera here? See if I can get one kind of isolated here so that you can see. There we go. All right, so we've got this plant right here, right? The stalk. What you can do is go in and you can take off that one. And I should have brought a pair of scissors down to do it properly. And then this one. So I've just gotten, you know, let's see, could I go one more? I could probably go one more. So I'm going to take off this one right here. I'm kind of going up the ladder. So there we go. I've got all this. I can go make a sandwich now. I've got my lettuce for my BLT or whatever I want to put my lettuce on. This is great. It's so tasty. It's so fresh. It's got all those minerals and those vitamins in it that you want. And then this plant right here, this little sprig, is going to keep on producing. It's going to keep on growing up. So very, very easy to grow. If you wanted to, you could also go through and just clean it off, cut it. And if you cut it about 2 inches high, it should grow back. But I like to just pick. I love to just pick my lettuce and keep on working all the way around it. Sometimes they'll get a little congested. I've got too many in there. Maybe I'll go and pull one out, and then I've got some baby greens. But look at just the size of that. And this isn't just a 4-pack. When these get more mature, you get bigger leaves and a bigger crop and a bigger harvest. So let me show you. There's the mix right there, so you can see all those different types of lettuces. You've got the mesclun, you got the bok choy, you've got some arugula, you've got some spinach, you've got some of the different types of lettuces in there. So that's a lettuce mix that you can get all those different ones in there. And that's what you can also grow from seed. So lettuces are one of my favorite all-time fall vegetables grow. It was the first one that I grew. Super, super successful. Very easy to grow. You can seed them at different intervals if you want to, but because you can keep on picking on them, you just plant what you have. Get a nice big bowl of it. If you've got a small space and you want to do a bowl garden. You can grow them in hanging baskets. You can grow them in the landscape. You can grow them in vegetable gardens. You can grow them in raised beds. So many different options. I'll talk about that at the end. I just want to get through the list. Mustard greens is the next one. So mustard greens is another one. So mustard's going to have a little bit of that spicier taste again. So a lot of people use this raw in salads to add a little bit of spice. You can use it in different types of recipes. Pretty quick. That's what I love about mustard greens is this is kind of the overall family that all the cole crops fall under. But they sprout quickly and they mature in about 30 to 40 days. So they're very, very quick to maturity. There you go, that really pretty green. I actually like these, just the look of them. Again, you could plant these with pansies in the fall. You could plant them as an ornamental in your landscape, but also go out there and eat them. But it's just got that great kind of peppery taste to them and that great spice that mustard greens give you. Mustard greens, when the mustard greens bloom, you can actually eat the flowers. And when they seed, they form mustard seed, which I know a lot of us, when we do cooking, requires mustard seeds. You can make mustard out of them. That's where they make mustard out of. So mustard greens is another great fall vegetable. Loves the cool weather, goes all the way through the winter, can definitely take the mild winter. So awesome one, mustard greens. All right, so now we're going to talk about onions here for a minute. So here's onions. So onion seeds, and then again, I wish I had my bulbs in, or onion sets, as some people might call them. Those are going to be your young onions when you get your onion sets or your onion bulbs, but you can also start them from seed. So if you started from seed, they mature somewhere between, or a typical onion, sorry, this is more of a small scallion type of onion, but this is just a regular onion right here. And so if you plant them now, it's 105 days to maturity, so that's about 3 months. So by about the 3-month mark, you should be able to go and get some young onions. You get those small onions, which are great in salads or for different recipes and different cooking. I mean, obviously we use onions in a lot of different things to flavor our food. So onions are a great one, but also great raw. Then you can leave them. Now here in the Hampton Roads area, you can leave these all the way through the winter. Typically we don't get a cold enough winter. I know a lot of people might pull their onion bulbs up, dry them out, then plant them again in the spring to protect them from the winter. But typically here you don't have to worry about it. So onions are a very, very easy one to grow, and you can get some this fall, and then you can get another big crop in the spring, and then in the summer you get your big ones, and it just keeps on going. So onions are a great, great option, and I love to plant them. Usually I'll plant them in August, so we're a little bit past that point, but I still say go for it. And we're going to have the onion sets in soon. So if you get the onion sets in the ground pretty soon, then you can have a full-size onion by the end of the fall season into the winter year. So awesome, awesome. Onions are great, very easy. You can eat the onion greens for that little bit of that spice too, and that goes the same for the white Lisbon onion. It's a smaller onion used for kind of that bunch that you see there on the picture. So onions are another great option, and we'll have the bulbs in soon. Bok choy or joy choy, or there's lots of different ones, pak choy. But these are also kind of very similar to Swiss chard. A lot of people use them in stir fry, Asian cuisine. You know, you're going to use that kind of white stem part of it, but very easy to grow. Doesn't take very long to get to maturity, so you're looking at a month, month and a half typically, maybe almost 2 months maybe. But bok choy is an awesome Chinese cabbage is what basically people call it, but great for stir fries and different types of Asian cuisine. Bok choy, pak choy, same basic plant. But that's a great option as well. I do have that plant just because I wanted to show you. I do have it, and you can kind of see, look at all those little white stems already forming in there. So there you go. That's pak choy, or bok choy as you might call it. All right, parsnips. I know a lot of people grow parsnips. Now parsnips, similar to potatoes. I think a lot of people use parsnips instead of potatoes. But parsnips have that great flavor to them, really, really different. Now they do need ground space. This is probably the most important thing about parsnips is they need depth. So when I talk about carrots and loosening the soil, we'll talk about that at the end when I really kind of go through how to grow all of these different things. This one needs probably the most depth. So you're talking, 8 to 10 inches deep of loose soil. That's a pretty good amount of depth. I mean, you're talking, good space there that you need that depth to be able to have a loose soil to allow these to grow. But parsnips are another great fall crop. They take about 100 days to mature, but they like it cool and they like it kind of cold. So going into the winter time frame, you'll still get these. Parsnips are awesome, and then they can sit there in the ground and basically you just mulch off the tops and then you can keep on harvesting them all winter long. So parsnips are another good one. Peas. Peas, it's pea season. I love peas. Peas love the cool weather. They're super, super easy to grow. You don't have to worry about thinning them. You don't have to worry about, the only thing you got to do with peas is have something for them to grow on. The vines can get anywhere between 10 to 15 feet long, so you need some sort of trellis system to grow peas. They're the best that way. Now you can grow them on the ground, but they're always going to want to climb on something. They're going to find some other plant. So I typically put them on some sort of trellis, some sort of netting. I love the netting. You just get 2 basic posts. You put some netting in between it, it'll just climb right up that. You can use different types of trellises. You can use your tomato cages. Maybe if you're done with your tomatoes, you can use your tomato cages. But lots of different types of sugar snaps. This is called little marble pea. Love the pods fresh. My daughter can't get enough of them. She just picks them right off. And what I just learned, I didn't know this. I haven't tried it yet. But one of our amazing employees here told me that you can eat pea leaves. You can eat the leaves right off in salads, and he said they taste just like a pea. So he said that's really awesome. I can't wait to try the pea leaves. Growing peas are super, super easy. They do take a little bit of a challenge to kind of get them to sprout. So that would be my advice with peas, is to start them kind of like we used to do back in elementary school with our school projects. Put them, soak them in water overnight for the first night, and then put them in a damp paper towel until you see the root come out, and then as soon as you see it break that seed coating, then you can go ahead and plant them in the ground. That gets you a little bit of a start. They do kind of struggle to get out of that seed pod sometimes, but mature pretty quickly. You're talking about 30 to 45, maybe even 60 days, somewhere in that range, to start getting some peas, and you can eat the leaves. my friend or my colleague here, I won't use his name because I don't know if he wants me to. I don't think he would mind. But he just told me that he's growing them exclusively for the leaves, just to eat them in salads. So I can't wait to try that. But peas are another great fall crop. They can almost make it through mild winters. You can plant them in the spring for another spring crop as well. When do they struggle is really in the summer time frame, but peas are awesome, and then just keep planting them every year. 90, 100 seeds in these packets. I mean, very, very easy. You don't have to thin them. Just plant 5 or 6 seeds near a trellis and let them grow. Very, very good one. All right, so then we're going to talk about radishes. Radishes are awesome. This is another one of those fun favorites for kids. A couple different varieties here, and they do have different kind of time frames. I'll get to this one in a second. So that one's, or let's do this one first. Watermelon radish. So this is kind of the opposite of what you're used to. You're used to the red outside and then the white on the inside. This reverses that. Now what that means is it does take a little bit more time to get that color. But these radishes mature in 25 days. So you get radishes very, very quickly. So this would be another one of those that I want you to stagger your plantings. They sprout in only 5 to 10 days. You want to direct sow these typically. Typically, you're not going to find radishes growing in a 4-pack. Not to say that we'll never carry them, but to get 400 seeds, over 2,000 seeds in this value pack, you can have lots and lots of radishes. And I love that trick of mixing your radish seeds with your carrot seeds, because the carrots are going to take a little bit longer, but they want the space. The radishes will form up. You pull the radishes out, and then your carrots can have some space to expand. So I think that's a great kind of tip. But radishes are awesome in salads. That crunchy kind of root, awesome, awesome plant. And super, super easy and very quick turnaround. I mean, within a month, as little as a month, you could be eating radishes. So plant them from September all the way through October. You can be harvesting these into November, December. So radishes are easy. Save some for the spring. Do an early spring harvest. Awesome, awesome plant. Easy, easy, easy to grow. Rutabaga is another good one. Now, I got to be honest here, I've never eaten a rutabaga, and I don't know a whole lot about them. I know a lot of people use them in soups and stews and different things like that, but I've never personally grown one. They do take a little bit more time. I know they take about 3 months to really get to maturity, but rutabaga is another good one, another fall vegetable, loves the cool weather, doesn't like the heat too much, and so that's another good option is purple top rutabaga. All right, on to one of my next favorites. This, again, the lettuces, it's a must. Do some lettuces. For sure, you'll love them. But also do spinach. Spinach is amazing and so, so easy to grow. Here's my little spinach plant that I just picked up, another little 4-pack. So again, spinach is just like those lettuces. You just go around and you pick the edges, and you just keep on picking your spinach and keep on picking, and the plants just keep on producing. So you can start really harvesting those almost right away. So let's see, I've got Avon spinach. So that's a 44-day to maturity. But again, you're picking the entire time. You're getting those baby leaves off, and you're letting new leaves come out. Now, while they're young and while they're kind of in their infancy, don't pick too much. Don't take them too close to the top or take off too many leaves. They do need those leaves to keep on producing, but keep on picking because you'll keep on getting it. And as you get older and older into your spinach or closer and closer to maturity, you'll have huge spinach leaves. And super, super easy to germinate. I love to direct sow these or get my plants if I got a smaller space. But that's Avon spinach. We've got a couple different varieties here. I've got Bloomsdale. That's probably the most popular variety. Sprouts in about 5 days, but matures in about 40 days. So very, very easy to grow. Love spinach. I think, spinach, I never probably really liked it much when I was growing up. But then when I grew my first spinach and I ate it, it is just like a different taste than the store-bought spinach. It's just amazing. This is the baby leaf spinach, so a little bit of a smaller leaf spinach plant. Lots of different varieties of spinach as well, but super, super easy. Love spinach. It's so easy to grow. And then the last one I think on my list, let me go through and just make sure I haven't missed anything here. Peas, parsnips, So the last one is turnips, which turnips are kind of cool. So we've got our purple top turnip. So this is really cool, very easy to grow. You can eat them raw or you can cook them. They don't take too long to mature. What's cool about these, again, I'll mention his name now because I don't want to keep stealing all his ideas, the things that he's telling me. But Brendan, here at the Independence location is awesome, a wealth of knowledge. If you haven't talked to him, you should come in just to talk to him. He's amazing. But he told me that turnips were really what people used to use for jack-o'-lanterns. So you could plant this now. You know, pumpkins you can't do anymore. Too late. They won't form a pumpkin by the time Halloween hits. But you can take actually a turnip and carve the turnip just like a pumpkin. So that's kind of cool. And these mature in 55 days. So if you get this started pretty soon, like maybe like in this next week or so, you can get these to mature by Halloween, by the end of October, and you could be pulling your turnips and carving them as little pumpkins. Or eating them would also be another option. But turnips are great. This is a 7-top turnip, which is grown exclusively for its greens. Another great kind of nutritious, rapidly growing, aggressive green that is very, very easy and very hardy and easy to grow. So 7-top turnip is another type of green that you can throw into your salad. So that's kind of my list of vegetables. I mean, I don't want to exclude some other things like herbs. Lots of herbs that you can grow in the fall and winter too. So, I mean, the ones that can make it outside are parsley, sage, thyme, oregano. Those will make it all the way through the winter. Even chives. So if you're looking for that onion taste, but maybe you don't want to try onions, do onion chives, garlic chives. So there's a lot of fall herbs that you can do as well. And you can start those from seed, or you can come in and get the plants. We'll have the plants pretty soon too. So, so lots and lots of things that you can be doing in the fall season. Super beneficial because why is the fall so great? Fall is amazing because it cools down. We want to get back out in the yard. We want to do some stuff. And I think we're so used to just knowing tomatoes and squash and zucchini, and that's what we grow. And those are fun. Trust me, I love growing those. They're super, super fun. They can have their challenges. And so I was just talking to somebody before I got here, and it was, why didn't my tomatoes form well? Maybe I'll figure out with my fall crop. Well, the fall crop, the fall vegetable garden is so easy. I can't stress to you enough about the ease. I'm going to talk about how to plant them and talk about all of the different things here now that we've gotten through the list of all the different ones on how you can be successful with them because they're very, very easy. I keep saying how easy they are. But a tomato could have 100 different problems. You know, there could be 100 different reasons why your tomato didn't produce tomatoes. If you're not getting spinach or lettuce, I can narrow it down pretty quickly, and I can tell you right now why maybe they're not growing very well. So we're going to go through all of that now is how to grow all these fall vegetables very, very easily and the best way to do that. So again, I'm not going to go into specific detail on seed or plant necessarily. What I'm going to assume is we've got a vegetable garden, right? So we've got some space. So let's first say I've got squash, I've got tomatoes, I've got cucumbers. They're still producing. Great. That's great. That's awesome. So what I want you to do is either you can wait a little bit more time because you can always come in and buy a pack of vegetables. We'll have all of these fall vegetables for probably at least the next month or so. So you've got another 4 weeks really to kind of pick up on some of these things. So if your summer vegetable garden is still producing, because it's still warm outside, if it's still producing, then leave it for sure. Definitely leave it. Now, if you want to do some things from seed, then I would start pretty soon, and I'd get them into some trays, especially if you want to do some of those things that have a little bit of a longer maturity date. What do I always talk about? If you've ever watched one of my seminars, I always say take a little bit of time and plan. So plan your vegetable garden a little bit. So go and buy the seeds that you want to grow. Check out your maturity dates. Check out how long it takes to sprout. Do a little bit of time frame and say, okay, this is how much time I'm going to need to do this. So I need to start some of these things pretty soon. Broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, turnips, some of these things that take a little bit of time, then go through and say, I need to start these seeds pretty soon. And what you can do is you can buy a seed tray, and I'll talk about this at length on Friday, but you can buy a tray, start your seedlings, put them in a little bit of shade, keep them a little bit cool from this summer heat that we're still experiencing, and then let your summer vegetable garden keep going, and then plant your seedlings once they've germinated in about 3 or 4 weeks. Get them into the garden then. So if you still got now, some of us, I think most of us, I know I've lost a few things. Cucumbers fizzled out, or a tomato blew over in the storm and it ripped the roots out. Some of them I squashed it, hasn't made it very far. So I've got some pockets, I've got some space already forming in my vegetable garden. And so you can start to clear those spaces and get them ready for your fall vegetable garden. Now, maybe you haven't done a summer vegetable garden and you are getting ready to do a fall vegetable garden for the first time. So what do you need? Well, you need some space. We need sun. We would prefer full sun. So we would prefer full sun, but they can also take a little bit of shade. If you want to start raised beds are awesome. Why are raised beds so good? Because you get to amend the soil, you get to control the soil. I did a whole seminar on raised beds. Check that out if you're interested in doing raised beds. It's not too late. Go out there, build your raised beds. In a couple weeks, you can be sowing your seeds and planting your plants and having still a great fall vegetable garden. What I love about raised beds is when we talk about carrots and beets and turnips and parsnips, those root vegetables that love this cool weather and want to be planted pretty soon, they're going to grow right down in through a raised bed or containers. So if you've ever thought about doing containers for your fall vegetable garden, very, very easy to do. All of your fall vegetables, especially your leafy greens, are going to have a shallow root system. So they don't need a lot of space. That's why when I mentioned earlier the bowl, getting just a small bowl with drainage holes, any pot that we grow in, we always got to have our drainage holes. But just having a low bowl, they don't need a huge, deep amount of soil to grow a nice spinach or lettuce, a lettuce mix or any of those things. I mean, you can grow this nice lettuce right there in a small, shallow bowl. 3 or 4 inches of soil is all you need. Awesome, awesome idea. Or you can mix them up in containers. You got a deeper container that maybe you had some summer annuals in that you want to do some fall vegetables in. Plant some carrots that can go deep. Plant some lettuces around the edge. Mix it up. So you can do a lot of different things, whether it's in a raised bed or it's in a container or it's in the ground. Now, if we're going into the ground, the biggest, most beneficial step that you can do as you go to work your summer crop out. So let's say I've lost, like in my case, I've lost some squash. I've lost a cucumber or two. I've lost a tomato, but my peppers are starting to come alive finally with this heat. And so I've got these pockets. So what I want to do is I want to start, again, planning. Take some time, plan out what those spaces are going to be. When I take my peppers out, what's going to go there? Is that going to be a shorter season crop? All of those things. All of this just takes a little bit of time just to plan out and figure everything out. But what I really want to do is add organic matter. Organic matter, compost. Compost, compost, compost. I can't tell you enough about how beneficial that is to get your soil loosened, especially for those carrots and those root vegetables. Carrots and parsnips and beets and radishes, they need a little bit of ability to break down through that soil. So heavy clay soil, you're not going to do very much with any vegetable really, but especially those root vegetables. Now for your lettuces and your spinach and your leafy greens, those are going to be easy because you don't have to till it in too deep. You don't have to work the soil too deep. But what you want to do is just amend your soil. Compost is going to add organic matter, which is super, super beneficial. All right, so amend your soil. If you're doing them in pots, use potting soil. We've got our natural and organic potting soil, which is a great one. You can use our all-purpose potting soil. In the ground, we want to amend with compost. If you've got raised beds and you've got your summer crop that you maybe are done with and you want to get started on the fall vegetable garden, add some compost. Add organic matter. It's a great thing to do. All right, so now that our bed is ready, we're either going to plant straight from the plant like this, or we're going to sow our seeds. I'm going to talk about how to sow seeds on Friday. So if you want to join me for that, definitely do. Once our plants are growing, then what do we need to do? Well, pick them, use them or lose them. It's kind of the same adage that I always say for herbs is use them or lose them. Keep on picking, especially on those picking plants. Keep on using them. On beets, use the beet greens. Don't wait for the beet. Use those beet greens. Keep on picking some beet greens every once in a while. Throw them into a salad. They add a different texture, a different taste. And then harvest. Keep harvesting and plan. Again, a little bit of planning goes a long way for your fall vegetable garden to help with knowing when to do your crops. What I will tell you is if you can't make the class on the seminar on Friday, is when you buy your seed packages, they have all this great information right there on the back. So like radishes, 25 days. Okay, that's a quick maturity. So that means I should plant them every 2 to 3 weeks or every week or so that I get a good crop and I can consistently get an eat. And then don't plant too much either. So like a great one is cabbage. I think a lot of people plant 30 cabbages. Well, if you have 30 cabbages, are you going to be able to eat 30 cabbage when it's ready to harvest all of that? Now some of them can sit and wait, but you don't want to have them wait too long. So keep that in mind. A little bit of planning goes a long way. Next thing is weeds, shallow rooted plants. These are shallow roots. Almost all of them have shallow roots. When we talk about like bulbs and even the root vegetables, I know that's a root system that's going down, but they don't have a lot of ability to compete with other invasive things like weeds. And so we want to keep them weed free, and we want to keep them weed free from the start. So I cannot tell you how beneficial it is to mulch your fall vegetable garden. Definitely put down mulch. It will help you immensely. What you can do is you can pull your mulch apart if you're direct sowing your seeds. So if you're putting seeds right into the ground and you're doing a row, you just pull your mulch apart, you let it germinate, and then you pull your mulch back around as those seedlings get big enough. Mulch will keep moisture in and keep the root system warm in the winter, which is very, very helpful to get your plants to keep on producing all winter long, through the fall, through the winter, into the spring. Mulch helps immensely, but it also keeps the weeds out, because if you're going and you're pulling out a bunch of weeds around your plants, you're going to damage the root system of your spinach or your lettuce, and it's not going to grow very, very well. Plus, it's not going to compete. Your weeds are going to compete with the lettuce. The weeds are going to win. They're going to take all the nutrients out of the soil. They're going to take all the moisture. So that's an important part to know, is keep the weeds out, and mulch really, really helps. Watering. We do want to water. These are, again, shallow-rooted plants, so they need a fair amount of water to keep the soil evenly moist. Now, what does that mean? I mean, cool weather means we shouldn't have to water as much. You've got the best tester right here on your hand, and that's your finger. Use that, go down to about your second knuckle, check the soil moisture. If it's moist, you don't need to water. We've got cooler nights, less evaporation is occurring, and we get more rain in the fall. So you shouldn't have to water as much. So we shouldn't have to worry about watering too much. But if it's dry and we've planted early, September can be warm. So if we're having a warm September, then you definitely are going to want to keep it watered and keep it cool. So that's a very, very beneficial thing to know, is we got to continue to water. One of my favorite tools is my Dram watering wand. So if you haven't seen this before, it is the best way to water. All of these plants, especially if you're working even in a raised bed that might be only 13 inches high, but even in the ground, especially in the ground, and even in a pot, I mean, anytime, this is the best way to water, because this breaker here on the end breaks that water flow. These are pretty, light plants. They're pretty small. If I just take a hose, just straight up, stream of water hitting these plants, it's going to really hurt them. Plus, I want to get to the root system of the plants, and that's what this hose does, is you can take it and get right down to the roots, and it breaks the water with this water breaker, and it keeps that water flow nice and stream, and it's almost like a rain. And it's very, very light, and it doesn't hurt the plants. So you've got to have, this is the #1 tool to have when watering. If you want to know all about watering, I did a seminar on watering, but talked about this tool a lot. If you walk around the garden center and you see us watering, what are we using? We're using this tool right here. That's awesome. $24.99. You got to have one. It's an amazing, amazing tool, is this way of watering, and it gets it right down to the ground. And this thing's 30 inches long, so you're going to get right down to the water. It's got an on and off, or right down to the soil. It's got an on and off valve, which is really beneficial, so you can turn it on and off. Really, really great one. So $24.99 gets you this great watering tool that you'll love for life. It is the only way to water, I think. And it really helps for these lighter plants that don't want a big splash of water. And I always tell people, don't water the leaves. You don't want to get water on the leaves. You're going to cause issues. I'm going to talk about those in a minute. But dampness and darkness can cause fungus. We don't want to create a fungus situation, so make sure to water the root system only. The next thing is feeding. This is probably one of the most important things that I didn't talk about, is Biotone Starter. Love this guy. You've probably seen me talk about it before if you've watched in my videos. Biotone Starter is a great starter fertilizer, great for seedlings or any of these packs that you might be planting, individual plants. I use it at every single time that I plant. You just mix it in with the soil or put it right around the root system when you plant your plant. So when you dig your hole and you plant your plant, just put it right around in the root system. If I'm starting from seed, then I'll just mix it right into the soil, right into my row, and I'll put my seed right in there, and that way it's right there when that seed breaks and germinates. You got that root stimulator or that Biotone Starter on it. So that's what this is, a root stimulator fertilizer, plant food. But what it's got is mycorrhizae and beneficial bacteria. And these organisms will attach themselves to the roots and just expand that root system. They form a symbiotic relationship. It's really cool. I won't get into all the scientific jargon, but it's a really, really cool thing, and it's an amazing thing, and it just expands the root system, doubles it in no time, and you get a lot more benefit from using this at the beginning. Then, as your plants continue to grow, you need to feed them. These plants love, almost all of these love nitrogen. Now, some of your root vegetables like carrots and beets and turnips and stuff like that might need a little bit more phosphorus to develop that root, that bigger root. But most all of them would love Garden Tone. Garden tone is one of my favorite kind of go-tos. It's an organic one. It's very safe to use, so you don't have to worry about anything. If you don't use garden tone, what I love to use, this is the one that I use in my vegetable garden for my fall vegetable garden for sure, and my herbs, I love it on my herbs, is our McDonald green leaf fertilizer. This is an amazing one. Super, super easy. Why do I love this one so much? So whenever we talk about fertilizer, we've got these 3 numbers. Can you see those? 8, 2, 4. That's an 824. An 8 on an organic, granular plant food is very, very high. Now, it's not as high as our traditional green leaf, which if you want to use this one, it's a great one too. Let's see if I can get those numbers to clear up. That's a 1248. So 1248 is an awesome one too. So you can use the traditional one, but I love this organic one. Very, very easy to use. Again, that fail-safe of being like, oh, I put too much on, I didn't kill it. But this one's got a high nitrogen. So our garden tone is a great one. It's a 344. Our McDonald green leaf is an 824. So if you're trying to spur new leaves, you're trying to get that plant to be nice and big, love this one. It's got all those trace elements as well. It's got boron and copper and zinc and all those different smaller micronutrients that you also need. So this is a great one. McDonald organic green leaf. Great choice for the fall vegetable garden. I love it, like I said, for herbs too. Let's see, is there anything else that I didn't, I got a couple other things that I want to get to before I get to the solutions of any problems that you might have. Vermiculite, this is kind of a cool trick. So this is something that I kind of just learned too from my friend Brendan. It keeps teaching me new things all the time. So vermiculite is very light. It's used to lighten up your soil. It's used to help with drainage, like perlite. It's very similar to perlite. But what's cool about vermiculite is all of these, especially if you're doing things from seed. If I'm planting a row of seeds, I can put vermiculite right over the top. And what that does is if we have a heavy rain or something and your seed moves, the vermiculite will move and you can see the vermiculite because it's a different color, it's a different shade of brown or black. So it's going to be able to be visible in the soil. And I'm not saying dig it in, just put a nice thin line of it right over the top of the seed. The seed will be able to break through it very easily. What it will do is mark that, okay, I just have a huge rainstorm come through. And my vermiculite has shifted over 2 feet or shifted down or bunched up into a group, into a puddle. I know that's where my seed is, so you can quickly kind of get it out of there and get it scooped back. And I think that's very helpful because we get a lot of heavy rains here. And so vermiculite, while it's a great soil amendment, and I'm not talking specifically about using it for that right now, it is the same kind of weight and feel of a seed, of a typical lettuce seed or a spinach seed. So when you put this down over top of your seed, the seed can break through it very easily. It's not going to cause any problems there. But what it does help is tell you if anything has shifted or moved through a heavy rainstorm. So that's kind of a cool little tip or trick for you. pH, I'll talk about pH for a minute. Whether you use just a dolomitic lime or a Magical. Magical I love because it changes your pH fast. The thing I love about all your fall vegetables, they're not too picky about your pH. Spinach really likes it right at a 6.5. The rest of them are pretty easy. Cress likes it a little bit higher, up to 7, maybe slightly above. But overall, generally speaking, the fall vegetable garden is pretty wide range. It doesn't need to worry about your pH too much. However, I just bring it up because pH is very important. I just brought up fertilizer and plant food, and if your plants are not in a good pH range, then it can't get the nutrients out of the soil and it can't get it out of the food. So if you're feeding your plants and it doesn't seem to be doing much, we might need to check your pH. We do free pH testing. So if you're planting, if you're in that planting stage, if you're preparing, bring in a little soil sample. Let us test it. If you have a raised bed and it's been about 2 or 3 years, bring in a soil sample. Let's get that pH tested. We can get you into the right range very quick. That's why I love this Magical, is it'll change your pH within a month. Dolomitic lime takes about 6 months. It's a good one. It lasts a little bit longer, but if you need to get there a little bit quicker, we can do Magical. But like I said, if you've grown a tomato, squash, a summer vegetable garden, and you did your pH in the spring, you're fine. You don't need to worry about let's get planting, let's get rolling. But if you do want to check your pH, definitely bring it in. We can do it for free. It really does help to kind of get you in that right range. All right, okay. So I'll talk about that here in just a second. I'm going to get into the solutions here because one of the main things and one of the teasers that I kind of threw out there earlier to keep you kind of sticking around to the end of this as I kind of wrap up now. I know I've been talking for a while, is those little white or yellow moss that you see flying around, those cabbage moss. and they're such a pain. If you've ever tried to grow a fall vegetable garden, while you're going through that August, September, even into October timeframe, it's warm. And what that means is those cabbage moths are flying around. Those little butterflies are flying around. And now these are not super, super desirable. I'm not talking about monarchs or swallowtails or anything like that. I'm talking about now those will eat up your parsley and dill and stuff like that. But for those pesky cabbage moths, they lay their eggs on your lettuces, your collards, your kales, your broccoli, especially cauliflower. They can lay it on pretty much all of these things. And so what they'll do is they'll lay their eggs on those leaves. They smell it. They know it's a food source for their babies. And so what they do is they go and they drop their seeds on the leaves of those plants. They hatch pretty quickly, turns into a little green worm, and that little green worm will devour a plant. I mean, not just one, but you'll have a bunch. And they'll just eat up that plant, and they'll get lots of holes. And when leaves have holes in them, it disrupts the system of the plant. It's going to cause it not to be able to go through the photosynthesis process properly and produce bigger leaves and produce a nice looking crop. And plus, you don't want to eat leaves that have holes in them. So what do we have? We've got BT, Bacillus thuringiensis. BT is a biological, completely organic insecticide. It only kills worms. It's only going to kill that moth larvae. So what you want to do is you've got it in dust form. There's a little puffer tube, so you can just puff it over the leaves, or you've got it in a liquid form. I've got it in concentrate. I've got bigger bags of the dust. I kind of like this little puffer tube. It's $4.99, so I pop this in, and then I'll go get my bag and refill it and use that over the top. Real easy to use. You just kind of shake it like a spice or like Parmesan. You know, you just kind of shake it over the top, and then it kind of dusts it. You can kind of squeeze it too to puff it a little bit. But dipel dust, completely safe. And then it's in a liquid form as well. And this is just our caterpillar killer sprayer with BT from Natural Guard. So this is another great option. I like the liquid nowadays. The nice thing about the dust is through a light rain, if it's still there, you know you're safe. You know it's still there. The liquid, you can't really tell. But I like the liquid just because I feel like it's a little bit faster and I'm getting a little bit better coverage. But preference is whatever it is that you like to use better. Same exact ingredient, Bacillus thuringiensis, completely organic, completely safe, doesn't hurt anything except for those larvae. So that's only going to kill those little caterpillars, those little worms. So again, we're not talking about killing monarchs and swallowtails. We're talking about killing cabbage moth larvae, which are nothing but a problem for your fall vegetable garden, and completely safe. Just wash off your plants before you eat them. That's it, which I recommend doing anyways. Always wash off your vegetables no matter what. But the caterpillar, so the liquid, you just spray on. After a heavy rain, you're going to have to reapply both of these. They're not systemic. They're not going to last a very long time, so it'll last as long as there's no rain. So again, that's why I say don't use a sprinkler system. Don't water. Otherwise, you're going to be using this every day. But do this, and that will keep those moths off. And then eventually we get into the cooler weather and those moths go away. If you have a white fly or aphid issues, those are typically the two major problems that we experience with other insects other than the cabbage moths. Spinosad soap. So this is one made by Natural Guard. This is a great one. This one has insecticidal soap plus spinosad in it. So this one comes with a hose end. We've also got it in ready to use. We've got lots of different options. We got concentrates, whatever you want. But spinosad controls a lot of those small insects like aphids and whitefly and stuff like that. So that's another good, very safe, organic insecticide. I think we all know neem oil. If you can't find neem, guess what? We got it. We got neem oil. Trust me, we've got it. So if you need neem oil, this is a great one. It also helps for, what's the other issue that we might have is fungus issues. Now, we don't have a lot of fungus issues with a lot of these plants. That's why I love this vegetable garden. I love the fall vegetable garden. There's not a lot of issues. But powdery mildew can sometimes occur. Just like on your squash or zucchini, you might have powdery mildew. But neem oil will help with that. So you can use neem oil. It also kills insects. So neem oil works as a suffocant. It'll suffocate the plant. Most important thing, don't use this when it's really, really hot. So I would say over 85, 90 degrees. Don't use this. Make sure it's cooler. Use it in the morning or the evening because that'll help kind of prevent that micro greenhouse effect on the leaves that can kill the plant or really hurt it. So this is a great one. Neem oil, it's just a good one to have around. Kind of like triple action. I love triple action. Got that Omri listed right there. So it's completely organic. This is neem oil and pyrethrin, so it's got a little bit of a stronger insecticidal agent in there. But triple action is great when it's an insecticide, fungicide, miticide. If you don't know what the problem is, triple action will probably take care of it. That's why I love to have it around. Let's see. For that powdery mildew issue, broad spectrum is a traditional method, very similar to Daconil. But broad spectrum is another good option if you've got any kind of powdery mildew issues. This is a bacterial. Again, this is a biofungicide. So this is a bacteria that just attacks powdery mildew, which is a great one. So this is a disease control and ready to use. So another nice biological, completely safe product to use. OMRI listed. Love it. So very, very easy. So if you've got specific problems, come in and see us. We'll take care of them. Let's see. Do I have anything else? Not really. So I just want to reiterate the importance of these. When you come in to get your seeds, your plants, and you're ready to plant, get some sort of BT. You are going to need it. Trust me, you will need it. So you might as well get it while you're here. And we've got signs up and you'll be able to see it. It's all over the store. Lastly, I want to talk about row covers real quick. So kind of an old-fashioned thing. Look at you can see the picture right there, row covers. I got these in a lot of different styles this year. So I've got this one's a net, which helps keep the moths out. It also provides a little bit of shade. So if you're starting early and you've got some bigger plants in September and it's getting hot and it doesn't seem to be cooling off, this one's a great one because it'll provide a little bit of shade and it'll keep the moths out as well. I've also got these in a plastic kind of greenhouse material, so you can put them over if you're trying to get a crop that maybe won't make it through some of our winters, or we're experiencing a colder winter and you want to protect some of those things. You can put a little greenhouse, what we might call a cloche or a protector. And we've also got a frost fabric one too. So we've got the greenhouse cover, we've got the net, and we've got a frost cloth, all in these grow tunnels. And what these are great for is if you form your plants in rows, you can just pop these right over the top of it. Typically they are about 10 feet long, so a pretty good size. Pretty easy to use, pretty easy to set up. You just pop these little half circles into the ground, you spread your net over the top. Everything that you need comes right there in the bag. So these are great options, and like I said, I've got a couple different styles for them as well. I know if you've started your vegetable garden a little bit early, your fall vegetable garden, you might be worried about this heat. Hopefully you started it in trays or in a pot or somewhere that you can move it into the shade. That does help. I just saw the question, Joyce, of how wide it is. Great question. It is 2 feet wide, almost 2 feet wide, 1 foot 8 inches wide, and about 1 foot 3 inches high. So pretty good size, and I've got bigger ones too. I've got a large one with the plastic covering. So a couple different options there, and you can do different things too. For the moths, for the cabbage moths, do this. Trust me, you need it. For shade, there's a couple different options. I mean, if you're trying to create shade, that will help. But if you're trying to create shade over your entire garden, you might look at trying to use maybe burlap, creating some sort of staking system. Maybe I like to sometimes take my patio umbrella and just take it out there, and it gives a little bit of shade for some of those plants throughout the day, especially as we're going through that kind of hotter time frame. A lot of us, I really think it's great that if you started early to grow them in containers and then get them into the vegetable garden, especially because a lot of us might have our tomatoes and squash and zucchini and peppers and all that stuff still going, and we don't have space yet. And so if we don't have space, you can grow them in pots, start them now, and then transplant them into the garden. So that's pretty much everything I got. These are super, super easy. And make sure, read my notes here, make sure I didn't miss anything important. I think we got everything. So really pretty easy. I really recommend that you plant some lettuce and spinach. They're so easy. Carrots are fun for the kids, and radishes are easy. You get a quick turnaround. There's a lot of things that you can try. It's not very, I know I just saw Michelle's compliment. Didn't realize that it's this complicated. I might have, hopefully I didn't make it complicated, but it's pretty simple. Plant it, have fun, pick them, enjoy them. There's a lot to do, and I think that's what I wanted to stress was